What's up, guys? Looks like we are live streaming on a beautiful Saturday morning. It is December 2nd, just past noon, at least for me. Um, yeah, we'll give a couple minutes for people to join, and then we'll get started. But thanks for those of you who have signed on already. Awesome. Well, I'll just kind of talk for a couple minutes before we jump in, let people join. But thinking about going through my entire process of making a video, start to finish. I know a lot of you guys out there are running your own YouTube channel. Maybe you're doing something similar, like reviewing apps or making tutorials. So I thought it might be helpful to show you guys how I make my videos. Of course, this is not the way to make videos. There's tons of different ways, but I'll just show you my process, and hopefully that'll help you. Um, but yeah, and if you have any questions, as usual, just drop them in the chat. We'll be going for the next, I don't know, half hour, maybe 40 minutes. That's usually how we roll. But yeah, let's see how it goes. I'm also back to using Google Hangouts for my live stream. I've about given up on all my other apps that I try to use. I opened an app today that I usually stream with, and then as I hit stream, it crashed. And then when it said a new version was available, it wanted me to spend like $500 to upgrade, and I just didn't want to do that. So back to using Hangouts, which is fine, but it is what it is. So. So it's kind of weird, but it is like beginning of December and it is like 70 or 60 degrees where I'm at. I'm in southeast of the states and it's like literally 60 or 70 degrees and we're like a few weeks away from like Christmas, which is insane. Usually it's like, 30s, 40s. I think last year was like 20s, but it's crazy. But happy holidays, by the way. I don't, just never really said that in the last stream, but it's kind of crazy that it's almost the end of the year. Like have a couple weeks left to 2017. It's insane. So cool. Well, I'll just kind of let people join as we go, but kind of the we'll just kind of jump right into it. But the first thing I do is this is gonna sound stupid, but I have an idea for the video, and that sounds super obvious, but it really helps to know not just really the idea, but kind of why you're making the video to help people. I think what's I've said this before. What helps me decide what to do videos on and how to do them is make them for my 11, 12-year-old self who's just getting started with their laptop and wanting to make cool things. That makes a huge difference. Knowing how to target and make a video for that person rather than just kind of saying everything and kind of showing them, okay, just click this button, click that button, and then you're done. What really helps people is to go through the process of creating something and creating a mindset um, of how to make something in Photoshop or in After Effects, whatever it is you're doing, because while it may help them just to have a 30-second video where you click these 5 buttons, it won't likely stay with them in the long term. But if you go through and you tell them what each button's doing and what each thing is, what each part of the app does, you don't have to get too in depth, but that'll really help them not just understand what you're trying to get them to do, but also what how to use the app or just how to approach a project. Um, so if we just like pick an example, something like the double exposure video I did, which I'll pull up in a second, but that whole um, that whole video, I spent a lot of time because most of my tutorials you'll see are at least 5, 10, sometimes 15 minutes long. I just released that After Effects tutorial that was 15 minutes, and that that whole double exposure video was I mean it's about 8 minutes, but that effect isn't that hard to create. I mean, it takes about 2 or 3 minutes of work, once you know what you're doing. So the reason it's so long is that I wanted to spend time showing people how to actually use Photoshop. Like when you click this button, are you just clicking it because I'm telling you to click it, or are you clicking it because you actually understand what it's doing? Um, and so I don't know if I can put links in this chat. Um, let's try it. Let's see how it goes. Um, Oh, sweet. Well, it doesn't oh, there you go. Okay. So it looks like it hyperlinked and everything. But that's the link to my double exposure video. It's a little old. It's like a year and a half now. But I just kind of picked a random tutorial. But that video, I spent a ton of time because mainly the reason I did this video is because I didn't know how to create a double exposure effect. And that's kind of how it goes with most of my videos. I Sorry, I'm just reading the chats. Is it distorting my voice? Dang it. Let's see. All right, tell me if that's any better. I just adjusted it down. On my like audio meter here, I have like 6 dots, and it's only hitting like the first two. So I can gain it down as well on my interface. See if that. All right, tell me if that fixes it. Um, But yeah, so most of my tutorials are based off something that I didn't know how to do when I started the video. So usually I'll pick something like when I didn't know how to do that double exposure effect. I just wanted to do it for a project, and um, and then I kind of just jumped into it, not really knowing. And A lot of it is me just reading other tutorials, watching other videos, um, and I don't know, you know, there's kind of a fine line between like stealing someone else's work and then also just watching a ton of tutorials and then just learning how to use the software and then making your own process. And there's always going to be other tutorials out there, but that's a whole nother that's a whole nother conversation. So my point is that once you pick an idea, it's helpful to teach people how to use the software beyond just doing the idea. Um, all right. So I just put my mic up a little bit. Let's see if that fixes it. Um, Sorry about the technical difficulties. Um, awesome. Sweet. So let's just jump into it. So yeah, so that's the idea is really good. In getting a strong sense of where you want to end the video, where you want to take people in the 5-10 minutes that you have with them in your video. And beyond that point, then it just kind of comes into creating the video. And there are so many different ways to do this. One way is to write a script. Now, I've never really enjoyed writing a script. Um, it just doesn't feel as natural, and maybe that's just the way I read a script. I think people who it's pretty easy to tell when someone's reading a script, when they've kind of just practiced it and then they're just reading off a page. It doesn't seem very natural. So um, I think I think just kind of not winging it, but just kind of talking about what you know as if someone was sitting there in the room with you and you're explaining it to them. That's really helpful. Um, and rather than just reading off a script. So once you've picked your idea, let's say we want to do something like in After Effects. Now this is going to open on my other monitor, so got to bring it over. We'll give that a second to open. But let's say we wanted to do something here. And we're just going to create like a simple, like, I don't know, like a pop-up animation or whatever. I have no idea how or what I'm going to do in After Effects, but I kind of want to do this for you guys live. This may be a complete disaster, but we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it helps. All right. My computer is also like screen sharing and live streaming that to YouTube, so it's also doing a lot of work in the background. That's why it's taking so long. I also just rearranged my entire office setup in preparation for the uh, whole office tour and studio setup. Um, that's coming when we hit 30,000, so definitely look forward to that. All right, so this is set up now. So we'll just create like a new project, or let's see. Yeah, okay. Thought maybe I had a project. So let's create a new composition. Everything is on the other window, and we'll just call this like our master. It's like a 10-second animation, and what we're gonna do is grab like a square, right? So this is just me figuring out what I want to do. This wouldn't be the video itself. So let's say this is kind of like getting the idea. So first, let's just add like a background. So we'll do like a nice green, blue, whatever. Perfect. We'll grab like a square. Let's make this like white. Center the anchor point, align that. And basically, I'm going to have this. This is super simple. So obviously, I wouldn't make a tutorial out of this, but we'll go like a second in, hit a keyframe, and bring that down to like 0. So this is like pretty boring. And you guys know my trick. Always easy ease your keyframes makes everything look so much better. And then you can also adjust the handlebars when you go into your graph editor. So if you just pop that in, it'll come up quicker and then kind of settle into the animation. You may want to do this just a little longer. All right. So like now we've just kind of made that animation a little cleaner and smoother. Let's say like that's the idea, right? I haven't done a ton. Takes like 10-15 seconds to make that. So that would be the idea. And now if I wanted to do a tutorial on that, what I would tell people is we're going to create a new project, right? And when I create a new project, we create a new composition. And when you get to this window, instead of just hitting OK, I see a lot of people do this in their tutorials where they just say, create a new composition. And then sometimes they don't even show the screen. They just assume that people know how to make a composition. And again, this isn't just for making a composition. This can go for making a canvas in Illustrator or saving a project in Photoshop, like what format to save. It just, in general, don't skip steps. So let's say we're at this window. Take a second to explain what each setting does. And now you don't have to explain like what a pixel is. You don't have to get too in depth, but it's just nice for people to see what settings you're using so they can follow along exactly. So usually in all my videos, I would say, okay, I'm using 1920 by 1080, but if you're using 4K, you're going to use these dimensions. This is how long I'm going to be using the comp for. It's going to be 10 seconds, and I'm using 2997. And then you hit OK. Instead of just, you see the difference there. Instead of just saying, create a new composition, hit OK, you say, create a new composition. We're going to call it this. These are the settings I'm using. This is how long it's going to be. Then you hit OK. It's just another couple seconds. It doesn't take that long in the video, but people will really appreciate you going through each setting and understanding and helping them understand what each thing does. That would be the first thing. The next thing we would say is we're going to double click on the rectangle. But before we do that, we want to say, okay, we want to create a background. I like to do this a lot when I say, before I actually show them the step, I like to give them a heads up kind of what we're doing. So instead of just saying, we're going to double click this rectangle, we're going to say, hey, we're going to create a background for our canvas. And to do that, we're going to go up and double click on this rectangle, and that'll automatically create a shape that will fill to the size of this composition, which is 1080p. And then you can say, okay, now we're going to change the color. You're going up to fill. And if you don't have a solid color, you can click on the fill text, and that's going to give you a no fill option, a solid color gradient, or a linear or a radial gradient, whatever. Then you can go up to the fill, put in your color. Now, it's up to you to decide how much of this stuff you want to show them. Obviously, I would only show them stuff that's related to whatever you're showing them. Like, I'm not going to jump into how to use cameras in After Effects when all I'm showing them how to do is make a simple pop-up animation. There's no cameras involved. There's no like text involved. And all it is a shape and a background layer. So really only spend time on the things that are obviously related to what you're doing, and then show them how the software works in response to that. So that's just kind of a brief look at how I would do it. Rather than just saying, create a new project, create a new composition, we're going to create a square, 2 keyframes, and just go about a second in and hit another one, and that's your whole animation. You explain to them, okay, when you first create keyframes, they're very like fixed. They're not very smooth. So one thing we can do is create an easy ease. And to do that, you blah, 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 blah. And the reason we do that is because when we go to our graph editor, we get these handlebars where we can adjust each end of the keyframe. And so kind of explaining those two things really helps people at how to use these keyframes and those kind of things. All right, sorry, I was just reading the chat. Let's see. Um, Honestly, guys, I have no idea what's going on with this voice thing. Let me see if I can get it any better for you. All right. Hopefully that's better, but that's just kind of a brief look at how I would do a tutorial. And so that's kind of the idea and the creation of the idea. And once you've done that, I would recommend, once you've filmed it, then you can start to edit it, and editing it will really help you a ton. Once you've got a solid idea, it's sometimes easy to ramble in your videos. I cut out a lot of bloopers, but I also cut out some things that I don't think are relevant to the video. So don't feel like you have to know exactly what to say for the entire video. But once you get into it, you can just kind of create your video, create your project. And at the end of it, if you end up with like a 40-minute clip for a 5-minute tutorial, that's totally fine. That happens to me all the time. And then you can just edit it down to the parts that you need. And that's where kind of the professionalism side of it comes in, because then you can really cut out obviously your bloopers, but also really just nail it down so it's really smooth from start to finish. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and drop them in that aren't technical related. If you have any questions, just drop them in the chat. Happy to answer them. Take a couple seconds. Cool. Well, once you've finished your filming, like just recording, let's just kind of open up ScreenFlow here. So you guys know I use ScreenFlow to record my videos, and I think this is ScreenFlow 7. This is the latest one, and let's change this to secondary. This may sound terrible because I'm screen recording and live streaming, but let's just hit record. So let's do this. Let's just pretend that I say, hey, let's do this, and this. This is kind of like my intro to the video, blah, 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 whatever you want to say. We're going to open up After Effects, right? Then we're going to create a new composition. I'm using these settings and hit OK. I'm going to create a new shape layer, and then I'm going to create a rectangle, not a mask. I'm going to create a rectangle, and then I'm going to create a quick keyframe here that we're going to go first center align that, then we're going to keyframe here and like a second in. So we're going to hit S on the keyboard, hit scale, jump back, hit 0%, blah, 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 blah. So let's just say I finished the video, then we'll hit stop record. So pretend that that was like a 10-minute clip, but just so that we have something to work with for you guys. Let's say like, okay, here's my intro. So we'll kind of start it there, right there. And we're going to bring in After Effects, blah, 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 blah. You can cut that up as much as you want. And, excuse me, you can cut that up as much as you want. And then one thing that helps to fill out this space is adding in some background music, which obviously you guys know I have the jazz music in the background. But it's really important to pick something that's not super busy, and it depends on the length of your video. If you have like a 15-minute tutorial, then it's going to be, you want to pick something like jazz that's not going to be super busy and not like a super pumped up like EDM song. You want to pick something slower, that because otherwise it's just going to be really exhausting for the viewer to watch a 15-minute tutorial. And it's also, if you have a lot of busy music, it's hard to understand what you're saying. So one thing, like I said, I have the jazz, so I just have this sitting in my global media in ScreenFlow. So we can bring that over. And I run this super quiet. So depending on the voice, this comes in mono. So just fix this for a second. So let's say like um, this is like my audio coming in from my mic. You never want this. First of all, you never want the waveform to be the same size or bigger than your voice. So that's just one visual thing to look at. But I also never run my music past like 10% unless it's like an intro or an outro. So I run my jazz music at like 5% max usually. So I set that there. Let's bring this up a bit. My doc finally decided to come over. So like, let's just say like this is the tutorial part of the video, right? Right there. Then I always have my intro and my outro. Again, that's in my global media. So we have intro, and this is my intro track. So this is what I use to run kind of the intro of my video when I'm welcoming people, explaining to them what the idea is. So one thing to fix this, we're just gonna add a freeze frame, drag that out. So like, let's say like this first 20 seconds is my intro. Then in my intro, I have like my intro animation. About the last 5 seconds or so, you'll see this background starts fading, and that's because it's for transparency. So I can run my freeze frame under it, and then it fades right over the video. You may not be able to see that on the live stream, but if I play it, you'll see it just fades right in, nice and smooth. And I like to have my intro music start like kind of just before the intro animation music ends. So there's really no gaps right in the beginning, so you kind of jump right into it. And again, I never run anything music-wise at 100%, not even when it's just music, because I never want to like kill people's speakers. So for intro stuff, I tend to run it in at like 35, 25 to 35. Um, and this really does depend on the kind of the volume of your mic. And so if you're really struggling to get your voice over that, then you can also increase your volume here. I have this coming in super quiet so that I can gain it up a ton. Um, and then you can play around with the volume of your music. So let's say we've faded this in. We've got the whole video here. And the live stream comes in. And then my mic would probably come in like here. Um, and so you want the music to fade down because then it's going to be hard to hear. So one way to do this, and ScreenFlow makes this easy with call out actions, which is up here. So if we click on, or sorry, not call out, but audio actions, if we add an action here, whatever you do at the end of this little yellow block here, that's what it's gonna like keyframe to. This is kind of the way that ScreenFlow keyframes. So it's at 35 now, but if I drop this down to say 10, you'll see that the waveform shrunk, and so you'll see we start at 15. If I open this up, or start at 35, and then we fade it down to 10 right there. So as long as you drag this yellow box, that's how long it's gonna fade to, if that makes sense. So we kind of want it to fade as I'm talking. And so usually what I do is I bring it down to like 10, or if I'm running it at like 50, I bring it down to like 30. So it's kind of like a 20 to 30% reduction. Then you're at like 20, or if you're at 10, then I bring another audio action and I bring it down to like 5 or whatever it is. So that way it fades in just so that the first couple seconds of me talking, it's not just like a complete drop in background music, but then over time it kind of settles in to like a natural volume, so where you can hear my voice and it's not really exhausting for the user. And then what I do, let's say like this is where the tutorial starts. We've got our screen recording, our mic there, and then the jazz music. We're going to split this clip. You can just use T if you're on, I guess you're on a Mac because you're using ScreenFlow. And I like to fade this out for at least like half a second to a second, so it's a nice smooth transition. And then as soon as this fades, you want to bring this jazz music in as soon as possible, because then there's like a drop in audio. So you'll see we fade this down, and then we'll fade into our After Effects tutorial. So let's say, where's the tutorial? So like right here. And obviously, like I'm moving around all this media, so the audio and video is going to be way out of sync, but just pretend that it is in sync for now. So I like to fade audio. You guys, I've done a tutorial on how to cut audio smoothly in ScreenFlow before, where to fade it, how to crossfade it, so I won't get into that. But with video, it's really nice to have just like a 0.3-second crossfade between big transitions like this. So we've kind of fade in there. But you'll notice that if I go to the beginning of this clip, I'm kind of moving that window in. So maybe what we would do is, if you can't like just click it and drag over, because then the audio would be out of sync, what you can do is go to the first frame of that and say add freeze frame, and then just roll that freeze frame over, so then there's no motion, so you'll see it just fades over. Now it's a really subtle difference, but let's say like the window was being dragged like halfway over, you would really notice that. So with those kind of changes, just like set a keyframe, and then it's a lot smoother. And sometimes, so like I said, excuse me, like I said, crossfading music, or crossfading the video clips in big transitions, like we're on my desktop and now we're going to After Effects, that's a transition. But inside of After Effects, it's sometimes easier not to fade it, because it's actually more noticeable to the user, because you'll see like different menus and different renders, or your cursor is kind of jumping off and it's taking longer because it's fading. So sometimes doing a jump cut is cleaner, but that's just kind of up to whatever you're doing in the animation. And then let's say you finished. Now I didn't really do an ending, so let's just kind of fake it here. Um, so this would be like the outro here. So we'll grab a keyframe here, or a freeze frame. We'll paste it and put that in here. Let's pretend that this is the outro, so we'll fade out. Then I'm going to bring back my outro, or my intro and outro music. So you're going to fade your jazz music again, and you're going to put in the outro music, and you're going to want to fade that in again as soon as possible. Now you kind of reverse the way that you've done audio. So we started in at 35 here, and we went down to like 10 or whatever. What you want to do is kind of start at 5. So we'll delete these two. Actually, we can leave them, just reverse them. So this will be 5%, and we'll jump to the end of the first here, and we'll set that to like 10. And then right when I finish talking, let's say like, thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Then you want to leave your freeze frame there for long enough to fade. And then as soon as that audio ends, now this isn't a good end point. Yeah, so let's just say like, thanks guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. That's like where 1 finishes. Then you want to have a really quick fade up of the music to your full volume. In this case, that's we'll set that to like 35. And then I'll grab my outro, grab that, set this to like a, I don't know, like a 0.3 transition. So thanks guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Music fades up. We've got the outro music, and that outro music will fade for the next like 5 seconds. That's just like a really rough cut. Obviously, I've disabled the audio for all this just because it probably wouldn't be usable for you guys. But that's just kind of how I go from start to finish of editing a video. I know it's really quick, and there's some things I still haven't covered in ScreenFlow that I'm planning on making a video of to make it more easy to use for you guys. But that's just a rough outline of what I do. One thing I would recommend is at the end of your videos, leave a lot of white space, preferably not something that's like dead in the center. And the reason is, so basically this is a bad example and I'm working on fixing this, but don't put something here if you're planning on putting like call out actions, or like the little subscribe or like most recent video at the end of that clip. And the reason is because when you're adding it to YouTube, let's see if I can grab this window here, go to like video. So like this is, we'll go to like edit this, and the end screen and annotations. This is where you can add like the 5 elements where you can add like, or up to 4 elements where you can add like a subscribe button. You can add like your most recent video. So you'll see that when we get to the end of that, so like the end of my last video, I had like a subscribe and I put that tutorial there. And that's really helpful for people who are new to your channel, because they want to have a quick button to subscribe, even though it's like right at the end. It's just another or right beneath the video to hit subscribe. It's just helpful to have another reminder to like subscribe and put like a quick video, because if they enjoy this video, they probably want to watch more. So instead of having to have them click on your channel, go scroll through your feed till they find something that they would like, you put something that's related to that video. So like this was that particle animation in After Effects, and then I put another tutorial for After Effects at the end of my video. So those are just some like brief tips to help you as you're uploading to YouTube, and just kind of getting some more call out actions and annotations for people to click on. I'm going to do more in-depth videos on each of these things. I'll probably do a whole more comprehensive video on how to go through and make a video like I just showed you. But that's just kind of a brief overview, and I hope that helped you guys. But yeah. So let's take a look at the chat. I did see the MKBHD giveaway video. It looks awesome. I cannot believe. I know D Brands, or I think that's who sponsored it. Is that what he said? Or one of those skin companies. I can't believe, like, even though that they're sponsoring it, I can't believe that they spent that much money on phones, because each of those iPhone 10s, was it 10 per, like 10 iPhones, 10 Android, or well, I think it was 20 each, something like that. Each of those iPhones is like $1,000, and they're all unlocked. So that's like 20 plus grand that you're looking, or 40 grand if it's 20 each, which is insane. So yeah, I definitely saw that video. I also saw a video by Sam Sheffer. Is it Sam Sheffer, or is it? Ah, gosh, man, I'm slipping up. Let me see here. Uh, it was a studio tour. It's like the fourth edition. This guy, yeah, Sam Sheffer. Here we go. Um, so he's done like 3 or 4 other tours of MKBHD's video. I think they like are pretty close in New York, because they're all in New York. Um, but this tour is an awesome video. This It's like 12 minutes. So if you're interested in the gear that MKBHD has, and you want to just be blown away, definitely watch this video. I'll put this in the chat as well. Um, so it's in there. That whole video is insane. I mean, just the gear. I think he said that he has, the red camera that MKBHD shoots with. He has an 8K. It shoots 8K at 120 frames per second. It just blows my mind. Like, I cannot believe that a camera can do that. Of course, it probably costs like the cost of your firstborn or something. You have to like sell your house to pay for that camera. I don't know, but it's pretty cool. So definitely check it if you're interested in, like, if you're just kind of like a gearhead and want to know what MKBHD is using. He has like 10 or 11 desks in his office. It's insane. So check that out. That was really cool. In other news, I figured out that I have like posting features on YouTube. I don't know if that's like a whole new thing to YouTube as a whole, or just to like my channel. I saw MKBHD was using it. So maybe it's just new to everyone, because he would definitely have got it first before me. But I'll try and kind of post that there instead. Or not instead, but in addition to like posting on Twitter and stuff. I've kind of gotten back into using Twitter. I took a break for like a year or something ridiculous. Um, but I'm back on Twitter now. I'm trying to post a lot more. Um, and I'll try and keep you guys updated there. But what's cool about YouTube is you can also do like the polls. So I don't know if you saw, I did a poll on making more After Effects tutorials. So I'll try and do more of those, maybe even kind of vote on video ideas like as I'm making them. But um, in terms of things to come to the channel, like I said, I've got tons of videos for creators. I already did one of how to like, or was it 3 tools for instructors, like preview and using Giphy and stuff like that to record your videos and make GIFs and stuff. Um, I have tons of other videos like how to market on YouTube and how to monetize, like all the stuff that, just kind of are random terms on YouTube, kind of explaining what everything does, but also more After Effects tutorials, all those kind of stuff. Um, and most importantly, we are almost at 30,000 subscribers. We're, I think it's like 700 or 800 away at this point. Last time I checked, it was like 29, um, like 100 or something. So we're almost at 30,000. And when we hit 30,000, I have tons of announcements. But you'll also get to see a video tour of my entire office. So I mentioned this in the last video, or the last live stream, excuse me, that I moved down to like the basement of our house, and that's kind of where I'm living now. And I've got this whole studio and office, which is awesome. Really excited to show you guys. And I've just like last night or 2 nights ago, I literally moved the whole thing around and like cleaned everything up. So it's getting ready and it's looking really clean. So I'm really looking forward to showing you guys that. So that's to come at 30,000. And in terms of when, obviously that means when we hit 30,000. But just judging by the trends, that could probably be definitely. I mean, it'd be cool to hit it by the end of the year, but I'm more likely just after New Year, and to kind of January, early January, mid January is when you'd be seeing that stuff. Um, so yeah, so that's what's to come. I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. I'll probably keep doing these. This is our fourth one. I'll probably do another one for the New Year's and kind of tell you guys what my long-term plan is for the year. And um, that'll be the fifth one in January. And I'll kind of just keep going. If you guys keep coming, I'll keep doing them. I as much as I want to improve the quality of these live streams, I don't want to make any promises because every piece of software I've tried has given up on life. So um, maybe that means just spending the 500 and getting that software. And if these are worth it to you guys, maybe I'll do it. But yeah, those are all the plans. That's what's up at Mac SQ. So if you guys have any last questions, comments, drop them in the chat. I will be happy to answer them. But if that's pretty much it, then I'll kind of end it there. So yeah. Also, I apologize for the random stops in the video. I was either looking at the chat, drinking water, and also someone just randomly showed up at the house. And then my mom and them were talking for like the second half of our live stream. So I was a little distracted, and I'm sorry if the mic picked that up, but it's all good. We're all family here. So, well, cool guys. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. I would love to get these live streams out earlier. So I'll try and put the events and like the notification that I'm streaming um, more in advance. The only reason is it's kind of weird because the first of the month isn't always close to a Saturday. And anyway, without getting into details, I'll definitely keep doing these. But thank you so much for joining, and we'll end it there. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.